Good morning, Morai Rabotai, Beruchim Abayim. Welcome everyone. We're continuing our Masechet Makkot, and we are on Daf Yud Amud Bet, 6 lines down from the beginning of the wide lines. Today's Amud is being learned. L'schud Rufa Shelema Sarah Bat Mina, Binyamin Eliezer HaKohen Ben Malka, Zivuk for Gilhad Ben Mordechai Ariel, healthy delivery for Talia Bat Rivka, Datan Parnasah for Avraham Raphael. This week's learning of the community has been sponsored by Dayan family, by Kohen family, by Shei families, for ultimate zchuyot for their success and hatzlacha. Today's Amud is specifically been dedicated to Refuah Shelema of Rachel Simcha Bat Nahid, that should have full recovery. Refuah Shelema, Amen. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Huna, Rotzeach שגלה לעיר מקלט ומצאו גואל אדם והרגו פטור. There's going to be a machloket in the Gemara. What happens if after all the precautions that we took, that the life of the Rotzeach, of the one that killed accidentally, should be saved, that the Goel Adam should not, in his heat of the moment and emotional state that he is in, should not just reach him, kill him. What happens if he actually killed him? He came to Ir Miklat and he found the Rotzeach and he killed him. Says the Gemara, Rav Huna said, if he found him and if he killed him, he's patur. Why? Because Rav Huna learned the pasuk Velo en mishpat mavet differently than the rest of us. Now the full pasuk, I'm reading it from the side to you, says Pen Yirdov Goel Adam. Maybe it shouldn't happen, but maybe Goel Adam is going to run after the Rotzeach Ki Yecham Levavo, because his heart is heated up by the event of his relative being murdered. Ve'isigo, and he's going to reach him. Ki Yirbe Aderech Ve'hikau Nefesh, and he's going to kill him. The key is the next few words. The next, to be exact, 3 words. Velo en mishpat mavet. 4. Right? And he will not have mishpat mavet. He would not get death penalty. So Rav Huna learned that means that if he actually killed him, he, the Goel Adam, does not get death penalty. That's how he read the pasuk. If he comes and if he kills him because his heart is heated up for the event that happened, Lo en mishpat mavet. We can't touch him. We can't kill the Goel Adam for killing the Rotzeach who killed his relative. So says the Gemara, Savar velo en mishpat mavet be Goel Adam hu dichtiv. Meitve, the Gemara says, they asked the question, the Beit Midrash, you can't say that, because we have a braita that indicates clearly that that's not the pshat. Because we learned in the Braita, Velo en mishpat mavet, these 4 words in the pasuk, Lo en mishpat mavet, berotzeach hakatu medaber. Is it talking about the Rotzeach, or is it talking about the Goel Adam? This actually is the question that the Braita asks. In other words, Rav Huna is not the first one that scratched his head when he read the pasuk and then he learned it this way. The Braita says, well, you could read it like that, you could read it like that. In other words, let me speak it out. You could read the pasuk as we just mentioned, or you could simply read it that this guy, this poor guy that accidentally killed someone and is running for dear life, and now the Goel Adam is chasing him. We don't want, make the Are Miklat accessible. That this poor guy that's running and the Goel Adam is running after him, maybe chas v'shalom, he's going to run after him and reach him and kill him. And the truth is, Velo en mishpat mavet, he's not chayam mita. This poor guy who's running for his life is not chayam mita. He didn't kill anybody deliberately. It's an accidental kill, Velo en mishpat mavet, and he doesn't deserve to be put to death, the Rotzeach. That's the simple reading of the pasuk. So the Braita asks, do you read it like this, or do you read it like Rav Huna read it? That lo mishpat mavet, it's going back, if the Goel Adam kills him, the Goel Adam would be off the hook. So it says, the Braita, How do you read this? Lo en mishpat mavet. Ata omer berotzeach o eno ela begoel hadam. Is it talking about the rotzeach or maybe goel hadam? So the Braita itself answers it. Keshu omer vehu lo soneh lo mitmol shilshom. When the pasuk, a different pasuk, right, says that this guy that caused the accidental kill, was not an enemy of the murdered individual. This is the story of the Rotzeach that's running to Ir Miklat. The pasuk says, "V'chai asher yakeh et re'ehu bivli dat." I'm reading from the side. A person that, without knowledge, without intention, hit his friend and killed him. Vehu lo soneh lo mitmol shilshom, and he was not his enemy. So says Gemara, what do I learn from that? What I learned is, you learn from that pasuk that the pasuk is coming to show you the innocence of the Rotzeach. He was not an enemy, it was not intentional, he was not planning on it, he didn't want it to happen. And therefore, ve'en lo mishpat mavit, he does not get death penalty, poor guy. And we're worried that he's going to get killed by the Goel Adam while being innocent and not guilty of murder. So says the Gemara. So that's obviously a bomb kasha on Rav Huna, right? We just remember the structure. The Gemara started with saying, Rav Huna said, if the Rotzeach was killed by Goel Adam in Ir Miklat, we let the Goel Adam go. No problem. Why? I learned it in the pasuk. Wait a second, you missed the Braita. The Braita says clearly, black and white, that Velo en Mishpat Mavet is going back on the Rotzeach, which would indicate that if the Goel Adam would chase the Rotzeach and actually kill him in Arei Miklat, what would happen? He's guilty of murder. His hands are filled with blood. Yedechem damim maleu. No, Rav Huna, it's not that bad. He didn't miss this Braita necessarily, but he's going with a different Braita. In other words, it's machloket, already early machloket Tanaim, because you find a different Braita that seems to indicate exactly like Rav Huna. Hu de Amar Kihai Tana de Tanya. Rav Huna is following the following Braita that we learned. Velo el mishpat mavet, same thing. When you have these four words in the pasuk Velo el mishpat mavet, who is the pasuk talking about? Is it talking about Goel Adam? That if he kills, he's going to be off the hook? Or is he talking about the Rotzeach, meaning the Rotzeach is innocent, and therefore if the Goel Adam kills him, the Goel Adam is guilty of murder? And the Braita says, opposite the other Braita. That pasuk that we learned, and that we see that it was not an enemy of the person from before, that already has told me that the Rotzeach is not guilty. That already I know. You don't have to say it again. I already know that the Rotzeach b'shogeg is not guilty of death penalty because he was not Soneh, was not an enemy from yesterday or the day before. He told me that already. You don't have to go back and again tell me Velo en mishpat mavet. So when the pasuk says Velo en mishpat mavet, it's coming to teach me obviously a new thing. What is he telling me? He's telling me that even though that the Rotzeach is not guilty of the deliberate murder, but still we recognize the feeling and the right, if you want to call it, of the Goel Adam. Why he would feel so passionate about killing the Rotzeach, and if he ends up doing it, he's off the hook. Velo en mishpat. That's what the Braita seems to say. Says the Gemara. Now just read what I said outside. Hare Rotzeach amur. Hamani mekayev velo en mishpat mavet. Velo en mishpat mavet is extra because he can't be talking about the Rotzeach. We already spoke about the innocence of Rotzeach. Therefore, begoel hadam hakatu medaber. This Braita says that when the pasuk says he is not guilty of death penalty, is talking about a Goel Hadam who successfully killed the Rotzeach. The family member who chased after Rotzeach and successfully killed him, he would not get death penalty. Tanan says the Gemara, let's try to at least bring a proof for this one way or another. We learned in the Mishnah, Moslin lo shne talmidei hachamim. When we send this guy to Are Miklat, when he's running, we give him 2 talmidei chachamim to accompany him through the journey to Are Miklat, to the cities of refuge. Shema yargenu baderech, and the concern is maybe the Goel Adam is going to be chasing after him and kill him. We want to prevent that, right? So it says the Gemara, Vaidaberu elav, we want these 2 talmidei hachamim to be able to speak to this guy and talk him out of it. My love de matrube. The Gemara says maybe the reason we send 2 talmidei chachamim is that if the Goel Hadam comes and wants to kill the Rotzeach, these 2 people will tell him, don't kill him. Don't kill him, because if you kill him, you'll be killed. You need 2 people to give hatra'ah, the warning for anything that gets a capital punishment, or even Makkot. You need 2 edim and hatra'ah, edim v'hatra'ah. You need 2 kosher witnesses and a proper warning. Proper warning. So maybe that's why we send 2 talmidei hachamim with him, that if the Rotzeach is in danger, because the Goel Adam wants to kill him, they would give hatra'ah to the Goel Adam, says, don't touch him. If you touch him, you'll be killed. And that would prove against Rav Huna, right? Rav Huna said if he kills him, he's off the hook. Maybe you see from this Mishnah that he won't be off the hook, and that's exactly why we send 2 talmidei chachamim to warn the guy if he reaches him and he wants to kill him. The Gemara says, "My love the matrube de ikatil bar ktalahu." Maybe they are there to warn the Goel Adam that if he kills the Rotzeach, he himself would be put to death. The Gemara says, no, Kedatanya, we learned in a Braita the reason behind it. It's not just like a Mishnah that is dropped there without explanation. We have a Braita that explains the reason behind the Mishnah. The Braita says that the 2 talmidei chachamim speak to the Goel Adam is not that they're warning him that, oh, don't do it, you got to be put to death. No. They will speak to him based on his spirit, based on his personality and character. They tell him, look, don't deal with this guy like a deliberate murderer. He's not. Believe us, this is just an accident. You don't want to be spilling blood of an innocent person that has, a wife and 15 children, and who knows. Don't ruin his life. For all you know, this was just a shkaga. Let the Bedin do what they do. We're going to take him to Bedin. We're going to judge him. If he needs to be put to death, we'll hand him over to you. But if not, you won't want to spill an innocent blood. That's what we did. They tried to talk him out of it. That's why they're there. Not because they want to give him hatra'ah. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Meir adds, that he himself is going to present his own case. He's going to talk to the Goel Adam. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, these are the words of the Rotzeach. That means, you learn from here, that the Rotzeach talks for himself. Amru lo, this is so beautiful. The Gemara says, they told Rabbi Meir, Harbe shelichud osa. So Rabbi Meir, a lot of things you can't do yourself. You have to have an agent talking for you. Right? Sometimes the things that other people will say on your behalf, people will listen to. If you would present your own case, nobody would be emotionally attached to what you have to say. Other people could invoke others' emotions easier on your behalf than you could do it on your own. So says the Gemara, Amar mor, bishkaga b'ma'aseh liado pshita, dehabe mezid, bar galutu. Says, what do you mean, bishkaga b'ma'aseh liado? They say to this guy, oh, it's a shogeg, believe us, don't kill him. Of course it's b'shogeg. If it would be memezid, would he be running to Arei Miklat? No. So, says the Gemara, no, that's not so pashut. The Gemara says, of course he would go to Galut, because we already learned, who was it? Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda, I think, yes, it is. And in Vehatanya, and the reason is, we learned in the Braita, Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda, Omer, Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda said, B'tchila, echad shogeg, v'echad mezid, maktimim la'arei miklat. Regardless of how you killed somebody, you would just run to miklat. Because you don't want the chaos that follows. We don't want the chaos that follows. We don't want Eretz Yisrael to become like Texas of 100 years ago, that everyone has two guns on their hip and they do the judiciary system of the country on their own. We don't want that. Even by Rotzeach Mezid, we don't want that. We want law and order. And the way you have law and order is every person that something happened through their hand, they will go to a safe zone first. You pause the action. Nobody could touch them there. Then you take him, the police will kind of like take him to Bedin, will adjudicate his case, and then we'll deal with it. And the Gemara is going to explain it. Bedin sends a police car, a safe, bulletproof car. But they take him from there to the Bedin, Haragu, if he becomes, gets the death penalty, we realize that he killed Bemezid, then the Bedin will kill him. The elders will send and take him from Ir Miklat, and they will hand him over to the Goel Adam. Umet, and he would die. And if he comes completely unsketched, he is not at fault at all, then Patru, they say, go Chazaku Baruch, go home. Right? There is an obligation on the community to seek the innocence of this person and try to prove it. Miyat Goel Adam. And the third category, of course, is what we're most interested in, that if he, Mishenit Chayev Galut, if he becomes Chayav Galut, then Machzirin Oto Limkomo, they send him back, escort him back to Ir Miklat that he was, Shenemar Veshivoto Aida, and Ir Miklato Asher Nas Shama. They'll send him to the Ir Miklat that he came from. Rabbi Omer Matzmanehen Golin. Rabbi answers a different answer. In other words, we have a question. The question is, why in the world would the Talmidei Chachamim have to prove to this guy that the Rotzeach is perhaps innocent? Don't kill him. Isn't it that only the Shogeg guys run to Arei Miklat? So we had one answer, Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda, that no, everyone, we want, the Bedin wants everyone to run to Arei Miklat, even the Mezid ones. That's the halacha. Now the Gemara says, Rabbi said that it's not necessarily the halacha, but it's the practice. It is the practice, because people think that Arei Miklat are safe zones for any murder. That's what people think, mistakenly. And so therefore, even though the halacha is Arei Miklat are not safe zones for deliberate kills, but nevertheless, everyone that kills thinks that it is a safe zone, and they go there. Right? We spoke yesterday about the mistakes that a person could make. We gave an example of the Gemara in Baba Batra Daf Chaf Alef by Yoav ben Sruya, by Zecher, Zachar, Amalek. Another mistake that Yoav made, Yoav, even though that he was a tremendous, mighty person, he was the head of the entire army of David HaMelech for decades, but he was Chayal Mita. David HaMelech felt that he pulled a quick one on many people, more than once on Sar Tzva Yisrael. What?
Avner, right?
He killed Avner, he killed Asael, he killed a lot of innocent people to kind of like eliminate the competition. And David HaMelech felt it was, first of all, Chilul Hashem, secondly, it was murder. He killed innocent people by a trick. But he couldn't say anything because, politically speaking, he was too strong. And if David HaMelech would have said anything, he would have tipped his whole thing. David HaMelech, walked a thin line for many years of his kingship. He had rebellions against him of very high level, but from his own son, from Achitofel, which we're going to speak about in just a moment. Right? Achitofel was the wisest man alive. walking the face of earth. And his son was a tremendous person. He had most of the government in the country against David HaMelech. So he felt, and he says this, he says, I can't say anything to him because it's going to completely overthrow my malchut. But he did tell Shlomo HaMelech on his deathbed, he said, you are Chacham, you know how to not tip the boat and kill him without the problem. And when Shlomo HaMelech wanted to kill him, he sent Benayahu ben Yehoyada. What did Yoav ben Tzruya do? He went and he attached himself to Karnot HaMizbeach. He thought that it's going to save him. But it says, Me'im mizmachi tikachenu lamut. The deliberate kill, you don't get saved. So you see, even Yoav ben Tzruya made a mistake in halacha like that. So therefore, says Rebbe, this is for people who make a mistake and think that the sanctuaries are going to be safe zones even for deliberate kills, and therefore they run there anyways. Hence you have these two Talmidei Chachamim trying to explain to the Goel Adam that no, perhaps this guy is really innocent. You don't want to have innocent blood on your hand. Wait until we take him to Beit Din. Try to convince him, speak to him divrei ta'am, to calm him down and stop him from killing the Rotzeach.
How are the two Talmidei Chachamim going to be assigned to this person who just killed and is running?
No, so it's not always, it's a good question. It's not always that he's going to be escorted, but many times we do find, if he comes to me and says, what do I do? This just happened. They say, run today, before anything happens, just go to Ir Miklat for now, and here two times the Chachamim go. Sometimes no, sometimes he just runs himself. If you don't know about it, you don't know about it. If he gets it, it's a nice escort. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Right? So it says, again, not always it's in the middle of a forest. Sometimes it happens in town, and someone falls from the ladder on top of somebody, and before you know it, you're not going to have a din Torah right now. If you send him home to sleep, and tomorrow morning you got to be a bet din. Bet din doesn't sit on every day, right? Twice a week Bet Din sits, and so on and so forth, and then you have to go up the ranks, and if somebody shows up from the window at night while he's sleeping, and the guy wakes up dead or doesn't wake up in the morning, so then that's when you lose it. We don't want that to happen, so therefore we escort him to Ir Miklat.
You don't know that it's inadvertent because he hasn't sat in the Bet Din. He just showed up and said X, and you assume it was inadvertent, and then you assign it.
We don't, yeah, of course, we don't know until he stands trial.
So he could have been an intentional killer that you assigned to Talmidei.
Correct. 100%. Says the Gemara. Kispurin, and says Rebbe, because people make a mistake. They think that Arei Miklat are going to be a sanctuary for everybody, even for Mezid. They are making a mistake. They think Echad Shogeg ve'Echad Mezid Kol Tod. Ve'hen enan yod'in shebeshogeg Kol Tod be'Mezid enan Kol Tod. They don't know that in truth, be'Mezid enan Kol Tod, if you are in the deliberate kill, you have no protection in Arei Miklat. Amar Belazar. Ir sheruban rotzchim ena koletet. Belazar said, if you have majority of rotzchim in Ir Miklat, if it became a very popular Ir Miklat, we said the Shechem was very close to the two Ir Miklat, Shechichi rotzchim. If it becomes a situation in which the majority of the city are rotzchim, ena koletet, it's not going to work anymore. That's ineffective. Now we spoke about Rabbi Simcha Midovinsk, the Meshech Chochma, and our own elaboration of that in the system of Torah versus the Western system, of how this is an actual system of rehabilitation in a healthy way, and it very much goes with that, because we want him to be surrounded by good people, want him to be surrounded by people who don't know about crime, people whose life is dedicated to doing good and chesed, and they don't even know about people who are criminals. Instead of sending him to a federal jail that he's surrounded by all the people with 2 or 3 PhDs in crime, we send him to a place that is surrounded by Leviim. They're singing, they're teaching Torah, innocence and education of Torah is what permeates the atmosphere of the town. That's what we want. And if you have a certain amount of criminals, it loses that thing. What's that? At least you have to have rov. At least you have to have majority, because the majority always overpowers. You always get tilted after the majority. So if you don't have majority, it's pasul. Now this city can no longer fit anywhere to put a capacity, overcapacitated. You put by the door, this ir miklat is already not working anymore, and he has to run to a different ir miklat. Now says the Gemara, where do we see this? A very subtle drasha from the pasuk. Shenemar, he is speaking his words to the ears of Ziknei Ha'irahi, the elders of that city, et devarav. You have an extra wording over here, et devarav. What do you think he's speaking in their ears? My words? Of course it's his words. So why does the pasuk have to say his words? It says the Gemara, his words is coming to single him out, that he is a minority. His words of the story, his words is the story of his accidental kill. His story of the accidental kill is a rare thing. It's not, if the majority of the city is going to be like that, then of course, meaning the Zekenim who are representing the city are not sharing that story with him. If they are sharing that story because the majority of city already has the same story, so then that's already no good. Not that the words of the Zekenim representing the city, the majority of the city, would be like his words. Now, we're going to have something fascinating coming up. Once we mention Ziknei Ha'ir, right? Once we mention Ziknei Ha'ir, the Gemara says, you also need to have Zekenim in the Ir. You need to have elders of the city. If you don't have, then it's questionable. Rabbi Lazar said, Ir Shem Ba Zekenim, Ena Koletet. If you don't have Zekenim, it doesn't even pass for being an Ir Miklat, the Ba'inan Ziknei Ha'ir. Because it says he has to speak to the Ziknei Ha'ir. If the Ir doesn't have Zekenim, then it's, it's disqualified. Now this is going to become a big machloket between the Amoraim by not just Arei Miklat, but also by Egla Arufa and by Ben Sorer Umoreh. Any time that the pasuk says Zekenim, the Gemara is going to discuss whether or not, when the pasuk says you bring the Zekenim in, is it talking about the fact that if you don't have Zekenim, it's going to be disqualified, or is it just mitzvah ba'alma? Lachatchila, you want the Zekenim be there. If you don't have Zekenim, you deal with what we have, and it's not ma'akev, it's not going to be disqualifying the case. That's going to be the beginning of the next Gemara. Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll cover tomorrow.